Get ready to tune in, turn back the dial, and rediscover the airwaves of yesteryear. This is Echoes from the Past, your backstage pass to the shows that changed everything.
All right, let's dive into a moment in baseball history that isn't just about the game, but about breaking barriers. Picture this, 1948, the World Series. And there's Satchel Paige stepping onto the mound for the Cleveland Indians, making history as the first black pitcher to appear in the series. It's incredible, right? But it wasn't just a sports headline. It marked, a cultural shift in America. Now, Satchel Paige, he wasn't just any pitcher. I mean, this guy was a legend before even getting to Major League Baseball. He'd built a career, like an amazing career, in the Negro Leagues, wowing crowds with his skill and that larger-than-life personality. People would come out just to see him pitch. And when he finally crossed over to the majors, it was so much more than just about his arm. It was about tearing down those walls of segregation and changing what the sport could be. What it should be. And, this ties into the legacy of Jackie Robinson, who of course broke the color line just a year before, in 1947. Together, these guys weren't just athletes. They were pioneers reshaping not only baseball, but how America saw opportunity and equality. And speaking of the Negro Leagues, those teams, man, they were full of talent. I mean, some of the best to ever play the game came through there. Players who honestly didn't always get their due back then, but helped lay the foundation for what the game is today. I remember, as a kid, sitting in the backyard, listening to my dad talk about the first time he saw Satchel Paige pitch. The way his eyes lit up, He'd describe the way Satchel's pitches moved, like magic, like they had a mind of their own. But what really stuck with him wasn't just the skill. It was the fact that seeing someone like Satchel on that stage gave people hope. Hope that the world was changing, even if it was in small steps. It's kind of amazing to think how baseball, this game, collided with such a huge moment in history. And Paige, man, he kept playing into his 50s. His 50s. Most players, they'd be retired long before that, but not Satchel. He wasn't just defying expectations. He was rewriting the whole idea of what was possible. He made people believe. Not just about baseball, but in, something bigger than themselves. And that's what makes his journey beyond the stats, beyond the trophies. It's outright inspiring. All right, let's dive back into baseball's rich tapestry. So, 1962 World Series, Game 7. Imagine being there. The Yankees and the Giants going head-to-head. And when you hear about that final play, Ralph Terry pitching and Willie McCovey lining out to second, it seems like almost cinematic, doesn't it? One swing could have flipped everything. It's those moments, the ones where history sort of hangs in the balance, that stay with people forever. And radio, the way it captured those games, it made you feel like you were in the stands. It was the theater of the mind. The tension, the raw emotion. It was all right there, crackling through the airwaves. And that 1962 series? Man, it still gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. And then there's Babe Ruth, the Babe. What do you even say about someone like that? He wasn't just a player. He was the sport's first superstar. Pitching successes early on then, revolutionizing the power game with his bat. He set records that, at the time, just seemed impossible. Like his 60 home runs in 1927, that number stood for decades. And what I always think about is how Ruth went beyond stats. He brought this personality, this presence, that transformed baseball into a spectacle. But the thing is, it wasn't just about Babe setting the stage. He opened doors for players like Mickey Mantle and Hank Aaron to redefine what greatness could look like. Mantle, with his raw power, switch hitting from both sides of the plate. And Aaron, well, Hank just showed up and year after year let his bat do the talking, breaking Ruth's career home run record. I mean, Aaron shined under pressure like few ever have. And one of the coolest things, honestly, is how we get to relive these moments through vintage radio broadcasts. Ever hear like an old recording from the 1956 All-Star Game? These play-by-play announcers had this way of weaving drama into every call. They knew, how to bring stories to life. Or take the 1960 World Series, Bill Mazeroski's walk-off home run to win Game 7 for the Pirates. For people listening on the radio, it wasn't just hearing the game. It was feeling it, experiencing every second, like as if they were right there in the stadium. What's amazing is how those broadcasts preserve the soul of the game, giving us a way to connect with legends in just the way they live these moments, unscripted, heartfelt, and unforgettable. When you think of legends like Lou Gehrig, Stan Musial, and Yogi Berra, what stands out? For me, it's more than just their numbers or those unforgettable plays on the field. It's the way they seem to embody baseball itself. These were icons not just of sport, but of resilience, grace, and character, larger than life, but somehow relatable. Take Lou Gehrig, for example, the Iron Horse. We all know about the 2,030 consecutive games, a streak that stood for decades. But the defining moment of his legacy, I think, wasn't just on the field. It was that day in Yankee Stadium, in 1939, when he delivered his luckiest man on the face of the earth speech. It was raw, real. Here's a man facing an impossible battle, yet he spoke with gratitude and strength. He taught us, through his very public struggle, what it means to face adversity. And really, it wasn't just about baseball in that moment. It was about the human spirit. Stan Musial, or Stan the Man. What a fitting nickname, right? For 22 seasons, Musial was the picture of consistency. Over 3,600 hits, split perfectly, half at home, half on the road. That balance, that dependability, wasn't just about stats. It became this unspoken promise to fans, an assurance that when Stan stepped up to the plate, something great could happen. He played with a quiet dignity, and in an era where so much was shifting culturally, his grace on and off the field stood out. He wasn't flashy, but he was unforgettable, and there's something refreshing about that, even today. And then there's Yogi Berra. Oh man, Yogi. What a treasure. 10 World Series rings, 18 All-Star selections. His career speaks for itself, but Yogi was so much more than his on-field accolades. Those classic Yogiisms like, "It ain't over till it's over," they were witty, but also oddly wise, weren't they? They made you chuckle, sure, but they also stuck with you. He brought this unique energy to the game, a warmth that connected with people, even those who never watched baseball. Yogi was what baseball, at its best, could be. Serious competition with heart, humor, and humanity. These players remind us why baseball isn't just a game. It's a part of who we are. Ceremonies like those at the Hall of Fame aren't just about looking back. They're about understanding how the sport has evolved and why it matters. People like Dennis Humphrey do so much to ensure that evolution is remembered. Digging into dusty archives, restoring old broadcasts, keeping those voices alive for future generations. It's not just nostalgia, it's preservation, a way to keep those legends tangible in a rapidly changing world. Baseball reflects life, a balance of triumph and grace under pressure, and these legends taught us that. Gehrig, Musial, Berra, they weren't just players. They were icons, shaping not just the game, but the culture around it. Their legacies go beyond the record books, reminding us of the values that make the sport timeless: resilience, connection, and the sheer joy of a game well played. And that's where we'll leave it today. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the moments and the legends that remind us why baseball holds such a special place in our hearts. Until next time, keep finding joy in the stories that connect us to the past. Take care.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the airwaves of the past. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the classic radio shows that shaped generations and left a lasting legacy. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Echoes from the Past. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to share it with fellow fans of history, storytelling, and vintage radio magic. Until next time, keep your dial set to the golden era and let the echoes of the past remind us of the timeless power of radio.